Hello, my name's Ian Anderson Gray, and in this episode of the Confident Live Marketing Show, I'm talking about how you can use the Rodecaster Pro for live streaming. We're going to look at the pros and the cons of this amazing piece of kit. So, we'll be with you just after this.
This is the Confident Live Marketing Podcast. Confident Live Marketing Podcast with Ian Anderson Gray, helping entrepreneurs level up their impact, authority and profits through the power of live video. Gain confidence in front of the camera, confidence with technology, and confidence with the content and marketing.
Together, we can go live!
Hello, my name's Ian Anderson Gray, and welcome to episode 102 of the Confident Live Marketing Podcast. This is the show that helps you level up your impact, authority, and profits through the power of confident live video. Now, in today's episode, I'm going to be sharing how you can use the Rodecaster Pro, the darling of the podcasting world, for live streaming. See, the Rodecaster Pro is used and beloved by some of the best podcasters out there, and it's a mixer, but a lot more than a mixer. Can it be used for live streaming? Well, that's what I'm going to be talking about today and sharing all about it. Loads of really, really cool things that we can look at, but I just want to let you know about this show. This goes live every Thursday and Tuesday on my page and to a plethora of different destinations. And if you want to find out more about that, if you want to don't miss for next time, then all you need to do is go to confident.live/subscribe. Now, today's show is sponsored by my good friends at Agora Pulse and also my Launch Your Live, which is a course helping you launch your live show and podcast. And the next entry is coming very, very soon. If you're watching the live show, it's coming in March. And if you're listening to the podcast, the next intake will be very shortly around. So if you go to iag.me/LYL, you can find out more about it. But here is just a quick snippet of the Launch Your Live. Hello, do you want to launch a professional live show and a podcast? You know, a regular live show is so powerful for so many reasons. First of all, it's a great way to grow your audience and community, people who actually want to work with you and buy from you. And of course, once you launch it, it becomes a powerful repurposing engine. Launch Your Live is a 10-day course that teaches you how to launch a successful live show. But not only that, it also helps you to launch your podcast from your live show. In the course, we'll cover how to plan, promote, produce, and repurpose your live shows and podcasts. And I'll be sharing with you my templates and processes with you. I'll cover all the gear and tools that you need, including cameras, lights, microphones, and live video tools such as Ecom Live, Restream, and OBS Studio. I'll show you how to use those things to level up your impact, authority, and profits. I'll be sharing my top camera and communication tips with my Confident Live warm-up formula, and that includes things like improving your posture, breath control, diction, and more, and getting over maybe that fear and anxiety that sometimes you feel when you press that go live button. The course is drip fed over the first 5 days, and I'll be giving live training in the group every single day for that first week. The second week is all about doing and practicing, putting all of that you've learned into producing a successful live show and podcast. So I can't wait to work with you. What are you waiting for? Join the waiting list or sign up below, and let's launch your live. Well, there you go. Launch your live. All you need to do is go to iag.me/LYL and you can enroll on the waiting list. And I think it's at the end of this month, the 28th of February is when the doors open. So that's very exciting. I'm very excited about that. If you're interested in that, pop it in the comments. And what are you really interested in learning? Because this course is all about me serving you. I want to make it as valuable as possible. And there's going to be live training in the group as well. Just put that video together earlier today. And it's kind of interesting because it's, I don't know, live video I find out so much easier than doing pre-recorded video. Because with pre-recorded video, there's this, I don't know, it almost feels that there's this temptation to try and make it perfect. And live video is never going to be perfect. Anyway, it's time to get on and talk about the Rodecaster Pro. And if you don't know what the Rodecaster Pro is, here is my Rodecaster Pro. Let's see if this works. So this is my downwards camera here. So there's my hand. Got this pointing down. It's basically, a Rodecaster Pro is like a mixer plus a lot of extra things. Now the question is, do you need one of these to live stream? The answer is absolutely not. If you're live streaming, you can if you want to live stream, if you want to launch a live show, just start off with your smartphone. That's the easiest way to get going. And then if you want to actually launch a live show, I think it's better to do that from your computer. There's so many more things that you can do. I recommend starting off with the Samson QTU microphone, which Carl has got. It's an awesome microphone. It's USB, but also you can plug it directly into a mixer like the Rodecaster Pro later on. It's got an XLR output. So that's something to think about. The Samson QTU microphone, which is, where is it? Give me 1 second. It's over here. So, obviously, if you listen to the podcast, you won't be able to hear this, but Samson QTU is this microphone here. So it's got USB and XLR, and the great thing about this is it's a dynamic microphone, so it's really good quality. So great for podcasting, great for live streaming. You can plug it directly into your computer to begin with, and then once you're ready to take things up to the next level, you can plug it in via XLR. Now, the next thing I would recommend getting, if you're wanting to keep things simple, is one of these little babies. And this is, actually, hold on, let me just bring it up here. This is the Focusrite. I don't know if this is going to get in focus, but that's quite ironic. Focusrite is not in focus. Anyway, the Focusrite Scarlett 2i2. This is a little USB audio interface. And if your microphone, so the great thing about the Samson QTU is that it's USB and it's XLR, so you can plug it directly into your computer. But if you have a microphone such as what I've got here, I've got the Heil PR40 microphone, you'll need an audio interface such as this one. This costs around $100 to $120, pounds, that kind of thing. And I can see Steve is in the comments saying, can I ask a question? Absolutely. Please ask questions. And if you've got a question, if you're watching live, just put Q, capital Q, colon, and then put your question in, just so that I see that. So yeah, if you've got a microphone like the Heil PR40 that's just the XLR, then get one of these little babies. They work really well. And this you can get the solo one, or you can get the 2i2, which has 2 XLR or jack inputs, and that's great. That works really, really well. So that's what I've got. Now, the other thing that I'm not going to talk about this on the show. The other thing that I've been using for ages is the DBX 286S. And this little baby is it's a processing unit. What it does is it pre-processes your sound. It just gets rid of any noise. It adds some extra depth to your voice. It's really, really cool. And I've been using that for quite a long time. So if you've been watching any of my shows, listening to my podcast, then you'll have heard the quality from that DBX 286S. And the advantage with that is that when you're doing a podcast, you can do all that post-processing later. You can get rid of background noise to an extent. You can add some extra depth afterwards. But when you're live, you can't do that. You need to do it pre going out to live, Facebook Live or YouTube Live. And that's where something like the DBX 286S is great. But just by the name of it, you know that it's going to be complicated. And it is a little bit complicated. If you're interested to know more about it, I have covered it on the show. And in the Launch Your Live session that's going to be happening, I can go into that in more detail. But I have talked about that before. But this is where the Rodecaster Pro comes into its own, because it's a lot easier to use. It's got a mixer and it's got all these extra voice processing things that we can talk about here. So so let's have a look at some of the questions we've got here. So Katie is is getting a Heil PR40 microphone. I can't wait to hear your voice on that. It's going to be amazing. And you're talking about the Focusrite Scarlett 2i2. I was going to ask you about that. And Katie is saying, would I need the Solo or the 2i2? For you, Katie, the Solo is perfectly fine because, I mean, to be honest, I probably should have got the Solo. I've never actually used the second one. But I did get this just in case I did want to plug in another microphone in the future. So I think this is useful for me. I think if we do want to, maybe if I want to get my daughter on a microphone and plug her in, then we've got that. So having those two microphone inputs is quite good. But it is a bit more expensive. So you've got to think about that. Are you ever going to use that extra XLR or jack input? You've got to think about that. So now this is a question. It's slightly unrelated, but this is a cool question, Steve. Thank you for this question. And it's a really important question to talk about, because he's saying, if I'm doing a live broadcast like a spinning class, what happens regarding music copyright? And this is really important. Now I can see that you're posting this question on Facebook. You're watching on Facebook, Steve. And in my experience, Facebook has got a really crude and not great copyright detection tool, and it can get it wrong. So I was actually helping our church broadcast their service last week, and I had a license for the music that I was playing. I'd cleared it all, yet Facebook thought I was playing some music for which Sony owned the copyright for. That was not the case, and unfortunately they took down the live broadcast, so it completely was banned. And what I had to do then afterwards was say to Facebook, no, this is not true. What's the word? There's a phrase I had to submit a request to say this is not the case. We actually do own the copyright. And I've had to do this 3 or 4 times. It's really frustrating. So you can get a copyright strike quite easily on Facebook. YouTube is much, much better. They will generally not take down your live if they notice you're playing copyrighted music. They will, but they may ask you to remove that bit, to mute the sound, or they may not allow you to monetize that. But so basically what I would recommend, Steve, is to make sure that you do own the copyright for that. And the place that I would go for that is Epidemic Sound. Epidemic Sound is amazing. You can get some really great music on there, and you can connect your Facebook and YouTube account to Epidemic Sound, and it will automatically clear all of the music that you play. So for a spin class, that would be perfect. Epidemic Sound. It's paid. You have to pay per month. It's about £10 per month, but it's definitely a really, really good thing. And Doc Rock is watching. Great to see you, Doc. And this is true. Facebook bans artists playing their own music. So there's been some cases recently when that's been the case, where an artist has actually played their own music and Facebook has banned it. So yeah, just be careful, because Facebook is not great from that point of view. So I hope that answers your question. And the amazing Doc Rock is in the room. I've learned so much from him. He's got a Rodecaster Pro, and I was putting it off for ages, and I thought, do you know what? So many of my audience are asking about it, and I need to get one and play with it and see what I think of it. So this is I don't think it's perfect, but I think there's lots of really good things about the Rodecaster Pro that I'm going to talk about. And it's my pleasure, Steve. I hope that answers your question. So let's talk about the Rodecaster Pro. Let's have another little look at it here. So the thing is, the Rodecaster Pro, do we need it? The answer is no, we don't need it. It's aimed at podcasters primarily. It's got 4 inputs. So I've got one input there. I've got one XLR, kind of similar to the Scarlett 2i2 actually. I bought it and I've only ever used one input. And I think for most people, they're only ever going to use that one XLR input, which I've got there. That's coming from the back of my Heil PR40 into here. But the advantage in having 3 to having 4 is that if you do have extra guests in-house, then you can have them up to 4 on your show. And of course, you could plug in other things. You could plug in like a keyboard or musical instruments into those. There's nothing stopping you about that. So you've got the 4 XLR inputs. you've got Bluetooth, so you can connect to your phone or to an iPad or something like that. You can also plug your phone directly in or some other device, and that's what I was doing when I was doing my episode on Clubhouse. I was plugging it directly in, my phone directly in here, so that you could hear people from Clubhouse. And by the way, with Clubhouse, make sure that you make it really obvious if you're recording or going live with your Clubhouse rooms. You need to make sure you read the terms and conditions and the rules, because generally speaking, it's not a good idea to broadcast your Clubhouse rooms. Sorry, I made a mistake. That is USB. The first one there is USB, so this is for your computer. Then it's your smartphone, and then you've got Bluetooth as well there. And then, of course, you've got these little buttons here, which I'll talk about in a minute. So it's aimed at podcasters with those 4 microphone inputs. It's got a record feature as well, but it's pretty amazing for live streamers too, because it's got audio processing with Aphex effects. Now, you might not know what Aphex effects are, but I'm going to demonstrate some of those in a little bit. So it's a basic mixing desk, which is great. So for example, I can just put my volume down here like this. And so now you wouldn't be able to hear me very well. So there's that, which works well. I can also, for example, record the sounds from my computer and then change the levels there as well. And you've got these little sound pads here as well, so hopefully you'll be able to hear these. This is a great way if you want, for example, to put your audio to create little intros and outros and other things, little effects. So for example, if I press this button here, okay, I've said a joke. Ooh, scary. You've got these sound pads, and you've not just got these 8, you can actually put in a lot more. You can toggle between different settings there, which is great. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. There's loads of really cool things. You've also got the backup recording facility. So I record everything using Ecom Live on my computer. But the other thing I'm going to be doing is also, I'm not using it at the moment, but I can also record directly onto a micro SD card, which is at the back here, which works really well. Katie Simpson says the start time was delayed today for 6 hours. And you reminded me, I forgot to mention this. Made a mistake. This show always goes live at 5 p.m. in the UK. Which is 9 a.m. Pacific on Thursdays, but for some reason there was a mix-up, and this actually went out, or was supposed to go out at 11 a.m., which was wrong. So unfortunately, we had to cancel that and then redo it at 5 p.m. So I'm sorry if you were aiming to watch this at 11 a.m. UK time this morning. Yeah, sorry about that. That was what that was all about. So yeah, it's great for that. It's great for recording computer and phone sounds. It's also got mix minus as well. Now, mix minus is a bit more of a techie term, but what this means is that, for example, if I bring in sound from my computer, so let's see, if I do like a timpani roll, let's see, for example. Okay, so you can see that timpani roll is coming in on the USB channel there. If I do another sound from my computer. Okay. So that's great. I've got that sound coming from my computer, coming in to my Rodecaster Pro. That's awesome, and it's going to be great because I'm going to be able to record that. But what's happening is the sound from the Rodecaster Pro is going back to my computer. So my microphone is being picked up. You can hear my microphone. You can hear all these sounds here and things like that. But if you think about it, the audio from my computer for this timpani roll is coming from my computer into the Rodecaster Pro, and then it's then coming back to the computer. So what Mix Minus does, and I've set this up, is that it will send everything apart from my computer volume. So my computer audio, sorry. So that's what Mix Minus is in that case. It basically stops echo and feedback from happening. And so you definitely want to check that out. It's really, really important. Otherwise, you're going to get echo. Now, the other advantage is that it's really portable. It's bigger than I thought it was, but it's actually quite light. It's portable. You can, as I say, when we start to go back to conferences, you could have up to 4 microphones in there. You've also got 4 headphones at the back and a headphone socket at the front. And I didn't know there was a headphone socket in the front until recently. That's a 3.5mm socket at the front, and then 4 6.5mm sockets at the back for that. And you've also got an input for your a 3.5mm stereo input from your smartphone to plug in the back, and the 4 XLR inputs for your microphones. Loads of really cool things. Okay, so here are the cons, and I'd love to know if you have a Rodecaster Pro, if you agree with these things. It's called a Rodecaster Pro. I think the Pro bit is slightly suspect. Don't get me wrong, the Rodecaster Pro is amazing, and I think it is part of a professional setup that I've got. I'm really happy with it. I think the sound is really professional. But, is it as flexible as some other things? I'm going to talk about some cons in a minute. Yes, it's pretty good. And I think with some of the firmware updates that they've added, it's pretty good. But I don't know whether I'd say it's fully a pro level tool or gear yet. It's not a full mixing desk. So you've got these 4 inputs, but it's not like a full 8 or 12 channel mixer. Now, the other thing is it doesn't come with any meaningful instructions. So I'm pretty tech savvy, so I got to grips with it pretty easily, and it is fairly intuitive, but it doesn't come with any instructions. I think most people are going to have to go to YouTube and look at a lot of videos to work out how it's done. Another thing that I was a bit disappointed with the new firmware update, they've got audio ducking. Now, audio ducking is when if you've got music playing, and you start speaking, then the level of the music will then go down. You'll probably hear this on music radio. If the DJ comes in over the music level goes down. And I was really excited about this, but the audio ducking, I've not been able to play with this properly, in that the audio ducking only works with the other microphones. So it's kind of pretty useless to me because I don't use any of these other microphones. The point of this is if you have lots of other guests plugged into the channel 2, 3, and 4, their level, if you have audio ducking enabled, their levels will go down when you speak. Now that's great, but what I was really looking forward to is if I had my show intro on this and I started speaking, then the levels of that would go down. But you can probably tell that my levels are not going down at all. That's the same level. And I was slightly disappointed about that. But, I'm nitpicking. The other disadvantage with the Rodecaster Pro is it's not cheap. So if you compare it to the likes of this, to the thing that I'm holding up at the moment, which is the Focusrite Scarlett 2i2, I mean, it's not really comparable with the Rodecaster Pro in that, what this is an audio interface only, and you've got levels. It doesn't have any of the buttons and the processing, the audio processing. But, this is a lot cheaper, where, this is about 100, whereas the Rodecaster Pro is, 4, 5, 6. I can't remember exactly the price. So you've got to think about that. This is not something I would recommend for if you're just starting off, but if you're wanting to level things up, absolutely, Rodecaster Pro is awesome. And Gary Michael is saying you are the instructions. Absolutely, yes. And this is why I'm doing this. I want to show you because it's really annoying when you get the Rodecaster Pro. It doesn't really have those instructions, so it's great for me. I mean, I can produce all this content, which will be helpful for you. Doc Rock is saying, I had this talk yesterday. It's a professional podcaster mixer, as it says. It's not an audio routing mixing desk. It doesn't claim to be. And yeah, you're right. It's a professional podcaster mixer. It's probably gives you all that you need. I mean, most people aren't going to need an 8-channel mixer. But, certain things, for example, it doesn't have reverb effects and things like that. I think they took that away on one of the firmware updates. Hopefully they'll bring that back. I know I'm nitpicking. Okay, I know I am, but I had to come up with some cons. So those are what my cons are. Doc Rock says, since everyone doesn't read manuals anyway, the lack of manuals is good for the earth. As ex-Apple genius, I can say nobody reads manuals, and it pains me. Yeah, you're probably right. But I'm one of these people that does read manuals, and it just kind of frustrated. I don't think they needed a complicated manual. I just think they needed something simple, or what they okay, I agree with you, but what they should have done is given a link to a series of video tutorials on the Rode website, and they didn't do that. Now, they are changing that now, because on the Rode website and the Rode channel on YouTube, they are starting to create those. But it's just for people who are just starting off. You want like a quick get started guide and some other things. And, for example, the whole thing about the audio ducking, I really struggled to find that information out. I had to dig deep to get the information on that, because nobody really has done any YouTube videos on that. So I think Rode needs to be doing a lot more of that. I think they realize that. And Doc Rock says YouTube manuals are great and a decent sales tool for pre-sales. So they just need to do more of that. Carl Sullivan asks a question: can the sound effect buttons be used for like a Stream Deck? Yes, they absolutely can, for things like so from an audio point of view, but they can't be used. So the first part of your question is they can be used like for my Stream Deck, I've got some of them set up for audio things. For example, if I press this button on my Stream Deck, you get the drum roll. Okay, and if I click this button, I get the da da da. So I could put those sounds. I could assign those sounds to the sound pads on the Rodecaster. But in answer to your second part of the question, for things like scene changes, like with Ecamm Live, no, unfortunately, you can't. That would be a really cool tool if they do have a desktop app for the Rodecaster Pro, but there's no kind of API that allows us to do anything like that, unfortunately. Doc Rock says, I'm a manual reader too. I did like the manuals, as in those huge cards. So they do have these big cards that come with it. So yeah, okay, it's good. I do like the Rodecaster Pro. So if you've just joined, I'm talking about the Rodecaster Pro and whether you can use it for live streaming. The quick answer is absolutely you can, and I am using that. I'm using the Rodecaster Pro today without my DBX286S, just so that you can hear the full unadulterated sound of the Rodecaster Pro. This is the Confident Live Marketing Show. My name's Ian Anderson Gray, and if you've just joined, let me know where in the world you're watching from. And I'd also love to know if you have any questions or thoughts on this. But it's time to introduce my second sponsor, which is the amazing Agora Pulse. I'm a massive fan of Agora Pulse. I've been using Agora Pulse since around 2014. It's a social media management tool. They do so many cool things. So here's a quick video about Agora Pulse.
Agora Pulse keeps teams organized and on top of social media. Simply connect your profiles and get an inbox, scheduling tools, and clear, concise reports for each profile. Craft content once and publish to multiple networks. Use the schedule, queue, and repeat options to fill up your social calendar months in advance. Get approval with the click of a button if you need it. Your inbox collects all incoming posts, comments, tweets, direct and private messages for easy management and team collaboration. Agora Pulse even collects 100% of the comments on your Facebook and Instagram ads. Saved replies make responses faster. And the Inbox Assistant cleans up and organizes your inbox for you automatically. Reports show you how well your content and team are performing. Export your reports into a PowerPoint or CSV with one click. You'll see who engages with you the most, and you can categorize them into segments that make sense. Agora Pulse is priced and built for teams. With your whole team on the same page, you can achieve your social media goals faster and more efficiently together. Try Agora Pulse for free today.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Agora Pulse, for sponsoring the show. I'm a massive fan, as you can probably tell. If you want to sign up for a free trial, go to agorapulse.com/confident live. That's agorapulse.com/confident live. And they've now announced, so if you, at the end of that trial, you can carry on, you can pay and carry on with the plan that you're on, or you can carry on just with a free plan. They've now got a free plan. It's limited, obviously, but you can now use Agora Pulse for free, which is pretty amazing. So let's talk about the Rodecaster Pro. I think it is the perfect tool for live streaming. It's a lot easier than something like using the Scarlett 2i2 and the DBX286S. If you're just starting off, then use the Scarlett. They work really, really well. But if you've got a bit more budget, then I would definitely recommend getting the Rodecaster Pro. It's easier to set up. It's got that processing built in. It's got recording, all that kind of stuff all in it. So I definitely would recommend you get it, but it is not cheap. So let's have a look at the Rodecaster Pro, and I'm going to just zoom in a little bit more here. Now, you've got all the different levels. These are the main levels. So you can see my microphone is there on the left. You've got the master ones there. If I play my timpani roll, you'll see that is the USB. That's the computer levels going up there. So they're helpful in terms of it sees all of that. You've also, these are color-coded. So if I click on number 1, that's pink. This is my microphone that I'm speaking on here. So I can go and select the type of microphone that I'm on. And this is the first thing that you will want to do. Now, if you're watching the live stream or the replay, you might not be able to see the words that well on the screen. But because this is made by Rode, it's got loads of different microphones on here. They're all Rode. Okay. But if you don't have a Rode microphone, you need to then just choose whether you've got a condenser microphone or a dynamic. I've got a dynamic microphone, so that's why I've got the one on the far bottom right selected there, which is dynamic. The next thing you'll want to do is you'll want to change the levels. So when I plugged my DBX286S into this, I had to put the levels right down, depending on the microphone that you've got. But you can then just click on the plus and minus here and adjust the levels. And you want to have it so that it's within the little green area there. So so that you're not peaking. So for example, if I go too much this way, you'll start to hear some background noise, and it won't sound quite so good. It might even be going over slightly. So I'm going to go down again. Oops, that's too much, I think. Oh, no. So there we go. I think that's better. About 30 is where I want to go. So yeah, you just need to make sure, speak really loudly and make sure that you're not going above the green line, and speak quietly, and hopefully it's not going too low there. That looks about perfect for me. So yeah, that works really, really well. Phantom power, this is really for condenser microphones. You'll want to select that if you've got that, but not if you've got a dynamic. Okay, this is the cool thing if we click on audio processing. So I've got all the audio processing switched on at the moment, and that works really, really well. But what I'm going to do now, I'm going to switch off audio processing, and I want you to let me know what you think of the difference. Okay, so this is just my normal voice. Is it any different? Can you tell any difference with the noise gate on? So can you hear any background noise, for example? Now, my room is not, my room is I've got like I don't have any acoustic tiles on. It's not a treated room. I've got a laptop cooling fan underneath, so you might be able to hear that. But let's put the audio processing on, and tell me if you can hear a difference in that. Hopefully you can. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch all of these off. Okay, so the different ones we've got here, we've got a compressor. And so what the compressor does, it makes the difference between louds and softs less distinct. So it means, so at the moment, if I speak really loudly, that's going to peak. And if I speak very quietly, that's going to be very quiet, and very loud. If I put the processor on, the compressor on, now that's going to make my louds and softs less distinct. So I can speak really loudly and I can speak very quietly. And the difference between those is less distinct. That's really important because, the human ear gets accustomed to a certain level. And if I start getting really excited and speak really loudly, that's going to be damaging your ears if it plays it at the same volume that I'm speaking at. So that's the compressor. Now, the high pass filter gets rid of any kind of low rumbles. So, for example, if you've got any like air conditioning going on, things like that, this will just get rid of any of that kind of low rumbling. The de-esser is if you do, it gets rid of that kind of harsh sounds like that. So if I take that off, I don't know if you can tell a difference. If I do lots of sounds, let's put the de-esser on. So it's always good to have that. I had certainly had that on my DBX2X6S. And then the noise gate. The noise gate, basically, when I'm not speaking, it will cut the sound out. So when I stop speaking, nothing happens at the moment because the noise gate is off. Let's put the noise gate on. And when I'm not speaking, it basically will stop any audio from coming through, so it'll be completely silent. I don't know whether you can tell the difference, but that's great, particularly if you've got quite a noisy room. The noise gate really, really helps there. Now, the next thing is the Aphex bit. And so the Aphex bit, basically what that does is it adds some extra depth and quality to your voice. This is the oral exciter. Sounds slightly dodgy, that, but that's basically, let's put that on. And then that adds some extra depth and resonance to your voice. So if I sing a note, for example, oh, okay, now let's switch it off. Oh, so you should be able to hear those harmonics. So that's kind of Tibetan chanting where you have those like really big harmonics sounding, those overtones. So that's pretty good. And then the big bottom, what that does is it just adds some depth to your voice. So there we go, the big bottom. So I put all of those on, but you just need to check whether you want that. And then under the voices bit, we can change the tone, whether you want a deep voice, medium, or high. I don't know whether you can hear any difference in the sound. I prefer the deep one. And strength. Do you want a soft, medium, or strong? Have you got a soft, medium, or strong voice? I've just kept it at medium on there. So those are all the settings for microphone 1, and you've got those separate settings on all of those different ones there. So I can have a different setting on microphone 2, microphone 3, microphone 4. Let's click on the cog. Got my channels there. Got the sounds, so I can change the sounds here for my pads. And I've also got advanced as well, so I can change things like micro SD. We've got audio here, for example. Operations. Do I want to change the way things look? The processing. I've got ducking on. I've got the USB mix minus. So this is it. As I said, if I play any sounds on my computer, I don't want those sounds then to go to the Rodecaster Pro and then back again. So I've got that switched on there as well. So I'm not going to go through all the features. Those are all the features that you kind of need to know to get started with. If you've got any questions about the Rodecaster Pro, let me know. I'd love to know. I would definitely recommend getting a micro SD card just as a backup recording. I think that really, really helps. Now, the other thing that you can do is, let's see if I've got this on my screen. So let's just go here. And I'm going to share my screen over here. Okay, so this is the app that you can download for your Mac or your PC, and it allows you to load all these different sounds. You've got different banks as well that you can load sounds on. And you can also enable podcast transfer mode. So all the MP3 files you've got on, or the WAV files you've got on the Rodecaster Pro, you can transfer them over to your computer very easily. You've also got you've also got some extra features. So, for example, you can record in 64-bit podcasts if you wanted, user interface, and other things like that. For example, the effects editor as well. So actually the effects editor, I haven't got that enabled at the moment, but let's enable that. And this allows you to go into so much more depth than the basic one. So with, for example, the compressor, I can really tweak these the threshold and the ratio and all this kind of stuff. This is more for you techie, geeky people, but that's pretty good. At the moment, I'm just going to switch that off because I just want to keep things nice and simple. Carl Sullivan says, some Mongolian throat singing. Yes, I was listening to some Mongolian metal music the other day, which was amazing. But there's some amazing stuff on YouTube about that. And Katie says it's a lot broader and better, the sound quality. So, yeah, I love it. I love the sounds that you get. I think it makes it just really, really nice and simple. So I'd love to know what you think. Do you think the audio processing makes a big difference? Do you like that? Do you like the ability to plug your phone in and to use your phone as an audio device as well? That would work. And, of course, you could always use the Elgato Stream Deck app as well. You don't have to have a Stream Deck physically. You could change your iPhone into a Stream Deck and do it that way. So I think I've probably mentioned most of the basic things about the Rodecaster Pro. Other things that you can do is if, for example, you're on Clubhouse or speaking on another device, you can bring sounds from your computer or from the Rodecaster Pro onto your phone, so you can get some extra effects that way. And of course, you could bring callers onto your show, your live show. So you could give out a phone number or use some, use Zoom or something, or WhatsApp on your phone and bring in your caller's audio onto the Rodecaster and do some really cool things there. It is pretty amazing stuff. Awesome. Well, that is the end of today's show. If you want to know more about the Rodecaster Pro or any of the other gear that I'm talking about, just let me know. Pop it in the comments or just email me. My website is iag.me, and you can just contact me through there. But I want to let you know about my podcast. So if you haven't already subscribed, go to iag.me/podcast. And this show is now 102 episodes. I can't quite believe it. If you haven't listened to the podcast before, I do sing a little theme song every single week. I compose a little theme song, which is complete madness, but it is a lot of fun. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I will be with you next week. And do also check out my other shows. I've got the Podcaster Hour on Ecamm. I've also got the Go Live with Confidence show on Restream, and the Confident Live marketing show on my channel. So until next time, I encourage you to level up your impact, authority, and profits through the power of Confident Live video. See you soon. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Confident Live Marketing Podcast with Ian Anderson Gray. Be sure to join the community at iag.me, where you can continue to level up your impact, authority, and profits through the power of live video. And until next time, toodaloo.